better. It is better. I'm still not convinced though.
Right. Well, you know, I'm bet you thought of something moodier for this signal, you know, but the moment you think this isn't right because you just you didn't have status quo in your mind when you imagined the scene. Do you know what I mean? And I think that works really well. You know? Have you ever done that? But
yeah, I like it. I like it. Yeah, let's go with it.
okay.
So,
What were you thinking for this?
Oh, what music-wise? How about rocking all over the world?
Studio.
No, live version, much better.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah.
I think this is all a very good learning. There's good learning point out of what it does. And that's, as an editor, you have to be a bit of a psychologist as well, because a lot of the time you'll be working with a producer-director if it's the BBC, or a director if it's a film. And you will have disagreements where you think you're right and they think they're right. And you have to play these psychological games with the director, and you have to say things like, just think about it, we'll come back to it later. Just play it a few times and you'll get used to it. Because you know sometimes that you're definitely right about the edit, but they've got another agenda potentially. For example, a lot of actors like to see themselves as big close-ups if it's a Hollywood film. So the director will be conscious that the actor has there's all sorts of politics. So sometimes you have to just fight your ground. And if you think when you're doing an edit with someone, if you're doing an offline edit with someone for 4 weeks, it becomes a counselling session for them mainly, because they're normally the messed up artiste and you're just kind of quite level-headed most of the time. So yeah, you end up counselling them, finding out about their... I used to work with this... There's one guy that no one else would work with. I'm not going to tell you his name, but he was a guy from the BBC, and no one else would work with him. And every pretty much editor in London refused to work with him. And I worked with him, and basically he was a liar. So what would happen is he would, bearing in mind he was paying for our services, so he'd come in and he'd come in at 9 o'clock and work till like 9 at night or something. And then he would say, okay, so that's 12 hours today, wasn't it? Yeah. I'd then get my boss coming in later after he'd gone saying, why have you only put 7 hours down on the call sheet, the timesheet? I'm like, well, no, we worked for 12 hours. See, I know you did, but he came through saying that you'd messed up on the computer, and you had to recapture some footage in, which wasn't my fault. So really, the edit was only 7 hours, and you're like, what's going on? And so you have to kind of engage in a little bit of assertiveness with the client as well. At the end of the day, they're the client, but they're only paying for your services. So so I used to work with him. I just used to sort of get on, and just used to say to his face, why did you say 7 hours? We worked 12 hours. He said, oh, did you? I thought you said. Oh, no, I didn't say that. So you'd have all this arguments and stuff going on, but then at the end of each gig, he'd buy me a bunch of flowers. It was just a bit random anyway. I mean, he used to wear kind of like leather trousers as well, so and he had this white long hair, kind of, he looks just a bizarre character.